Carving the Turkey. My older brother, affectionately known as Doc Bob, is a retired orthopedic surgeon. At the Thanksgiving fundraiser / family reunion in Portland, Oregon, he volunteered to carve the turkeys. This fundraiser, organized by Doc Bob's youngest son, Matt, and his wife, Stephanie, was held in their bar restaurant space. To serve the 70 guests, Matt smoked 4 good-sized turkeys. And when the turkeys came out of the smokers, Doc Bob walked into the small but efficiently arranged bar restaurant kitchen to perform his task. His first question was, "Matt, do you have an electric carving knife?" At home, Doc Bob carves his Thanksgiving turkeys with his electric knife that was a wedding gift 56 years ago. Not surprisingly, Matt's bar lacks an electric carving knife, but he supplied his father with a very sharp chef's knife, and Doc Bob began. He carefully removed the thigh leg unit from one side of one turkey. Using his considerable surgical skill, he severed the tendons and ligaments of the joint. Is that me? With no difficulty. Although, due to his many years of careful work with live humans, his carving was meticulous to the point of tedium. Next, he removed the wing, leaving the breast free and clear for slicing. Slowly, Doc Bob cut the first slice. Slowly, he repositioned the knife and cut the next slice. Slowly, he set aside that slice, repositioned the knife, and cut slice number 3. In the meantime, 70 people were milling around the secret society ballroom, stomachs growling, even as they nibbled on the excellent cheese and the good Portland bread set out as appetizers. And back in the small kitchen, Doc Bob was still carefully carving slices from that first turkey breast, which were piling up on the platter at a steady but pretty slow pace, lento, rather than the allegro that was called for. On the other side of the corridor kitchen, Chef Mike, another family member and volunteer, had already completely dispatched one of the remaining 3 turkeys, the light meat and the dark meat forming 2 high piles. Doc Bob's wife, Ginny, was aware of a certain time pressure. From a corner of the kitchen, she watched Chef Mike's speedy and professional turkey carving techniques and thought she could encourage Doc Bob to change from operating room mode to hurry-up restaurant mode. In particular, she noted that Chef Mike, with one quick, strong swipe of the knife, removed an entire side of breast meat from the turkey he was currently carving. He then sliced and diced and chopped that breast meat without the impediment of bones and carcass. He was fast. Ginny thought Doc Bob, if he were informed of this alternate technique, might want to adapt his surgical meticulousness to meet the less rigid standards of turkey carving for a crowd. Speed was more important than accurate dissection. So Ginny moved toward Doc Bob, explaining Chef Mike's method and using her hands to illustrate what she wanted Doc Bob to do. And at that moment, Doc Bob, who had perhaps just realized that Ginny was addressing him, raised his head and turned toward her, sharp carving knife in hand. You guessed it. The knife blade and Ginny's thumb momentarily occupied the same space. It was only momentary, but if the knife is sufficiently sharp, a moment is all it takes. A dime-sized piece of Ginny's thumb was now hanging by a thin piece of skin. The exposed flesh immediately began bleeding copiously, and it's a good thing that no electric carving knife was involved, or we might have seen the Portland equivalent of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Even before Ginny's thumb had been swathed temporarily in paper towels, Doc Bob had already turned back to his job of carving turkey. Once he saw that no joint had been severed, after all, he was an orthopedic surgeon for whom joints are the most important part of human anatomy, he lost interest in his wife's thumb. So Ginny was bundled off to her son Matt's upstairs office for first aid attention more permanent than a handful of paper towels. The amateur doctors wrapped the bleeding thumb in a cartoon bandage, and Ginny's left thumb, covered with enough gauze and tape to envelop a mummy, looked like a hot air balloon. Back in the kitchen, the professional doctor and amateur turkey carver continued to slice away diligently using the home carving technique that had served for over 50 years of family Thanksgivings. And while Doc Bob finished slicing the breast meat from one side of that first turkey breast, the kitchen professional, Chef Mike, carved the other 3 turkeys, and dinner was served.